Oh, hi, Katie. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. So I've worked with you in the UW Preschool Lab for about 2 years now, and I work pretty closely, work 3 days a week, so I've seen a lot of what you do as a lead teacher, but I've not really seen the behind-the-scenes work and also, like, small group time and things like that, and I'm thinking of maybe one day doing this as a job, so I'm hoping to get more of a, idea of what the time is and the other responsibilities are what that I don't see. So I'm hoping to ask you more about those things and then also possibly the benefits and also the challenges I might not know about. And then if we have time left, which I'm not sure if we will, but if we do, I'll ask you about the things like vacation, those little details. But I can always ask another coworker about that. I'm more interested in the day-to-day, real-life experience aspect of it. So to start, if you just want to give me a little bit of your background about how you ended up here.
So I graduated from UW-Platteville with a elementary education major and minors in special education and early childhood. And that gave me a license that was for birth to 11. From there, I decided to substitute teach for a year and decided I hated it because I didn't get to know any of the kids and it wasn't any fun. And so I started working in preschools and trying to get teaching jobs there until I finally found something that I liked, which is here. This is the long and the short of it.
Yeah. All right, so then what are some of the responsibilities that you have here? So I know about portfolios and then group time and some of those things. But if you want to expand, if you want to give me an overview of your responsibilities, then I can pick some that I'd like to know more about.
Well, we certainly have a lot of responsibilities, especially here at the UW. Overseeing students is one of them, and doing portfolios, parent-teacher conferences. There are always forms to go along with everything. And then, of course, we've got other duties as assigned. So, I am unofficially tech support and I'm in charge of scholastic orders. But we all kind of have our things that we pitch in with.
All right. So if you could start maybe then by telling me a little bit more about portfolios, because I think that's something that I've seen so many teachers do, but I've never really asked about it. I don't really know the process behind it.
Right. So portfolios are a great way to get a snapshot of the child. And what you want to do is you want to get a lot of activities that the child is doing in either new situations or things that they're really refining on. And document it in a really clear way. So you're going to take pictures and you're going to write stories of what exactly is happening in those pictures. And sometimes even you're going to take, if they're doing a drawing, you're going to take a drawing and hopefully put it in there. And so with that, you're going to take a look at the different skills that they're using. So you're going to write up a nice little summary of what's going on. So for example, there's a little boy who was working on writing numbers. And he started writing numbers 1 through 100, and then he kept on going. And so it started off with him just working on writing the numbers, and then he had to problem solve what to do when he ran out of paper. And so in that, I wrote the whole story of what was going on, and then I wrote down the standard that it went with. So for that, I might have used communication, since he was talking about the numbers and talking about what he was doing and how he was doing it, and he was doing a lot of communication with it. But then I also usually set in a little goal section to talk about all the other different things that he's working on. So he's working on his numbers, he's working on his writing, he's working on problem solving of what do you do when you run out of paper. He's problem solving of where to put it. He's thinking about all these other things, so I put that all in there too. And if other kids joined in, how is he including them? That type of stuff.
All right, good to know. And so then you have how many kids? Do you have to do portfolios for?
I have 9 kids, and then you're supposed to do a minimum of 8 per semester.
Okay. Like stories or things like that per kid?
8. Okay. Like 1 sheet documentation snapshot per kid.
All right. And then those culminate in a parent-teacher conference at the end, right?
Yes. So each kid gets their own binder with these in. And then twice a year we have parent-teacher conferences. And to go with the binders that we already put together and wrote
Mm-hmm.
We also do a parent-teacher conference form, which basically summarizes the different areas of development. So there's a health and physical section, a language and communications, a communications. There's a approaches to learning, that type of stuff.
All right. So then, in this parent-teacher conference, is that the first time that you really get to talk to the parents about problems, or do you have a lot of opportunity to kind of work with the parents?
That's the huge benefit to being in a preschool setting versus like a district setting, is that you do have a lot more opportunities to talk with the parents. You see them at pickup, you see them at drop-off. You end up seeing them throughout the school year at various like picnics and things like that. So you have lots of time to get to know them and be able to talk to them. So nothing that's said at conference time should be a surprise. At least that's always my theory.
Hopefully. Okay, so it sounds like as far as portfolios go, it's really just watching the kids, seeing how they grow, and then trying the best you can to kind of provide that like evidence for parents and things they probably might not see here, how they interact with kids and stuff like that. All right, cool. So are there any... So I worked with you this year. I've seen lots of challenges with the class we have right now. But are there any, other challenges that I might not know about, or I might not know like the full extent of,
Well, balancing everything is always a tough thing. With inquiry, which is the type of curriculum we use, you have to learn how to be really flexible with everything. And so things can change at a minute's notice. You sit there and all of a sudden they're talking about birds and they're really into it, and the next minute they're talking about gingerbread men. And they have nothing that they want to know about with birds. So, you can kind of prepare all this stuff and have it ready for birds, and then all of a sudden if they're not interested in it, you got to be willing to just put it by the wayside. And that can be really challenging, especially when, you don't have all the time in the world to get everything ready. So you have to really learn to find good resources and be able to be flexible, and that you just kind of are able to go with what they're interested in and be willing to let go of things when you need to.
Yeah, which I'm sure can sometimes be a challenge, it seems like.
It can be. There are times when you sit there and you work really hard on something and you go, wow, this is going to be great, and then all of a sudden you get there and you're like, oh, this isn't going to work at all because they're not interested. So,
And I'm sure that's when you save it up. Do you have a method for, like, saving projects or documenting,
Pinterest
your work?
is really great in that it not only gives you a place to get ideas, but you can store ideas too. I also will I have like a calendar that I use to write down what we've been doing, so I can keep track of what we've been doing. And if I come up with a bunch of really good ideas that we're not going to get to, then I can put it down in like a little note section and hopefully revisit it another time.
Yeah, and I know you keep your art, right? You keep like, when you come up with a new art project, you keep like a copy of the art project, or not so much anymore?
I usually try to, just so I can have like my own kind of portfolio of different things that I've been doing. And I don't always limit it to just art, but activities that we do.
Oh, okay.
And that way, just it kind of keeps me thinking about what I've been doing and how I'm growing and how I'm changing with what I'm doing.
That makes sense.
And it's always good to have in case if you ever need it.
So then on the flip side, are there benefits that I might not know? I mean, obviously working with kids is super rewarding because they're adorable and smart and surprise you. But is there anything else maybe that I wouldn't know about?
It's extremely humbling to work with kids. And there have been times when I've gone through probably the roughest things in my life, and I've still come in here, and it's amazing how kids will always pick up on that you've been through something, and they'll always do what they can to make you smile, which is something that you don't get anywhere else. So I think that's really awesome to be able to be in an environment like that. It's kind of good for the soul. But then, of course, there are always other great benefits depending on where you're at. Like here at the EW, we've got great vacation, great sick, great benefits package, which is always very nice. And we get more planning than a lot of other places do, so we get planning every day, which is great. So there are a lot of good things about it, even if it is tough, and you have to be flexible as much as you are.
Yeah. So there's it sounds like mostly the challenges are more in like what you can do on planning and stuff like that, and not necessarily always with the kids, which is nice because you can always work on yourself.
Right.
it's hard to change people around you.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so just picking up on that, flexibility has kind of been a theme. Does the job allow for you to be as flexible as you need?
Yeah, I mean, we have lots of time to work on planning and things like that, which is great. We're always at a really good ratio in that, if we need to run out of the classroom and get something, we always can. There's a lot of great benefits to that. And then on top of that, having the opportunity to work with as great coworkers as we do, they come up with great ideas that really help build a good school. You can really collaborate really well with them. And then, of course, we always have great opportunities for professional development to go out and get more information about something.
Okay.
So
cool. Yeah, it seems like here you guys really work as a team because I know you have weekly meetings. Bi-weekly meetings? Okay, I used to be weekly, I think, when you had a bigger team, maybe.
Possibly. That may have been before.
But, yes, anyway. So, in those weekly meetings, you talk, what do you talk about? What do you work on together?
So, every other week we have a staff meeting, and it can range from, figuring out minor issues of, the printer keeps running out of paper to, oh my gosh, this classroom is insane. What do we do? Okay. It kind of depends on what needs to be talked about, the changes that are going on in the school. Sometimes we'll even have trainings. Like we had a training on outdoor environments and excuse me, and how to incorporate more natural materials into the playground and make a more natural playground. We've had trainings on the effects of sugar and nutrition.
Oh, cool.
They bring in other people to do all sorts of things. We've even had presenters from other businesses who can tell us what they're willing to offer in case if we have any children who may need their services. Okay. So there's lots of opportunities.
Do you think that's kind of universal to a lot of preschool jobs, or is that unique here because we are UW affiliated?
Well, from past experience, it happens somewhat to a certain extent, but not nearly as much as it does here.
Okay.
Like here, I feel like they really work hard on covering all the topics you need and making sure you get the assistance that you need. In order to make your classroom run smoothly. Whereas in other centers I've been at, you may not get that time to really collaborate if you're having a lot of issues. You're kind of more on your own. Okay. Meetings are usually once a month, and it's usually after work and not during the day, so nobody really wants to be there. And then a lot of times it ends up being more so health benefits are changing. This is how they're changing.
Okay.
So
topics you don't really want to talk about or that not helpful necessarily.
Right. They're pertinent to your job, but not to the classroom.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense. So I think we're just about at time. Is there anything else that you think I should know or is useful for going into this field?
No, just kind of keep in mind that with teaching, you have to have lots of hats on. Sometimes you're going to be a nurse, sometimes you're going to be a counselor, sometimes you're going to be, an administrator, depending on what's going on. So you just have to be willing to be able to jump into those other roles fast.
Yeah, and that's actually one of those things that I really like about this job is that you have the flexibility. It keeps you on your feet, it's interesting. It's not something that gets kind of mundane.
Yeah, no 2 days are the same.
Yes, exactly. All right. So I think the main thing we covered is just the flexibility of it. We talked about portfolios and getting to watch children develop and then being able to talk to parents about that. It sounds like this job has a lot of opportunities to really work, in depth with the kids, with the families, to get your hands dirty, not just constantly feeling like. It seems like it gives you a lot of opportunities to feel like you're doing things, making a change, making a difference. You'll be remembered, not just another school teacher or something, which is really awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.